Hi yogis, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've posted a video here, but I'm even more excited to share with you this sequence about a mantra that I really like and really appreciate. This is part of a new series about affirmations and mantras, so let's dive right into it. I'm going to start seated. Have a little elevation under my hips. You could bring something under your knees if you prefer. And I'm going to come into Varada Mudra. So I'm going to place my hands right on top of my knees, closing my eyes. If you can, there are different variations of this mudra. But for this one, if you can, let your fingertips really point towards the floor. So you get the feeling of almost connecting through your fingertips with the ground underneath. And then really all you have to do for the first couple of minutes is arrive. Be here with your breath, with your body. Notice how you're feeling right now. Maybe allow for the sense of grounding through the floor, through the earth underneath that you're pointing towards and that you're sitting on. Trusting the earth. As we're moving today, our mantra is going to be Lokah, samasta, sukhino, bhavantu, which means may all beings be happy and at peace, essentially. So that's what we're going to look into a little bit more in detail. Starting with our hands right on top of our chest, we're going to start reaching out first with the right as we inhale, exhale center, and then inhale left. And then keep going in your own rhythm. I'm going to start turning my head as I move. There's a chance you want to keep looking forward. That is also great. But I really like this as a first movement, as an introductory movement to our sequence today that is all about the well-being of us, our connection to ourselves, our heart, and then expanding from there, right? So how much more symbolic in a way could a movement be than this one? We're going to start moving both hands out as we inhale and back in towards our heart center as we exhale. You could lift your chin a little bit as you move, but just be gentle, be careful with your neck here. And really the idea of spreading love, right, through your fingertips out into this world from your heart center. So in this sequence, think about what you need in order to be able to open up and spread throughout all this movement. All right, the next one is Ego Eradicator in a variation. You're going to lift your arms up, bend your elbows a little bit, and come into fists with only your thumb sticking out. So traditionally, Ego Eradicator, which is such a great name for a yoga asana, is done with Kapalabhati breath or with quite strong, fierce breath. We're just going to take deep breaths in and out the navel, or rather in and out our center. Closing the eyes and pointing the thumbs up stands for pointing to something higher than yourself, right? So that's the relation to Ego Eradicator. After 10 breaths, you're going to open your arms, turn towards your left. Turn your head with you as you inhale, arms up. Exhale, turn to the right. As you might notice, this is a relatively fast sequence, so dedicated to those short windows that you have sometimes during your day. And keep turning, using your inhale to lengthen up and your exhale to twist. Also exploring the space around you. And once you arrive next on your left, really turning from your belly, you're just going to turn your head now. So just getting a little mobility into the center of your body and then now towards the upper body, the neck. The whole area around your chest, around your heart, center for compassion in yogic terms. We're going to lift the back arm and wave it a couple times, maybe 2, maybe 3, over our head towards the front of the mat. And really move just in a way that feels comfortable for you here, right? So this can be very intuitive. There's nothing wrong or nothing right. Eventually going to cross that hand on the other knee. And then just round forward, maybe, moving your head a little bit from side to side. Again, this is quite an intuitive part of practice. So just move in a way that feels good, that feels like you're maybe opening up one of your two sides of the torso or both, ideally. And then come back up. Arms back up, and next time you exhale, you twist over, this time to the right. Resting your fingers and using them almost as a leverage this time, right? So pressing up from the earth into some more length, turning your head front to back, maybe 2, maybe 3 times, lifting back arm up, eventually exhale, leaning over, waving towards front of the mat. And then just continue with that movement. As you can see, my movements look never the same as before, right? So you can do the same. You can do and explore and just see what works. Crossing your arm, eventually you're going to start with one cat-cow sort of ish movement, and then just side to side. Let your head come with you. Let your body rock a little bit. Front, left, right, circle. Really, it's up to you. Opening the heart space also means opening the back of the upper body. Lift your arms up. This time maybe lengthen up. Feel the ribs open. Press your palms up and then let them face back. So as you take your arms all the way down in the front, you can come into this mudra shape where you're offering, this gesture of offering up, right? Which is again the idea of our mantra practice today, our affirmation practice. Sharing what you can share, the resources that you do have. Next, we're going to come into a little tabletop sequence. So bring your hands under your shoulders, your knees right under the hips, making sure you feel stable as you inhale. Kick your left leg behind you, starting with a really straight line. That's most important for the first couple of rounds here. So you exhale, pull your knee towards the chest. As you inhale, kick that leg behind you. So inhale for length and exhale for knee to nose. Not so much lifting the leg just yet, then extending the right arm, if that's okay for your balance, and doing the same thing now, including the arm 3 times. So think, how long can I get here as I'm floating? And then what sort of usually your yoga teacher tells you not to do, we're going to do exactly that. And for a moment, we're going to lift the foot and lift the arm and really trying to come almost into a back bend here, pulling in from center, but then lifting up from your limbs. Not easy. I feel it looks much easier here as it really is. All right, back to center, snake-like movements, as I like to call them, or whatever, whatever feels good for your spine there for a moment. Some ease, some breath, softness. Back to center, extend the right leg behind you. Kick that heel away from you, lengthen the neck forward, and then as you exhale, draw the knee in. Inhale, extend with length, right? Again, not height, but length for the first couple of moments. If it's available to you, lift your left arm and then just add that to the movement, pulling in the elbow towards center and then extending away from center again. Again, this is about 3 rounds until we again encourage our center inward and then lift up from our limbs. And it might not look like much to you, but really trying to lift the arm and lift the hip is hard work. So depending on your flexibility in the back, this might be quite a lot. Come back down, and this is a time to indulge in any movement. I like to do, for a moment, actually a puppy pose. So you could walk your hands forward and just rest here. Open your chest, let your heart space melt to the mat. So even if we're moving quite quickly today, and even if we have a lot of softness in the movement, another part of our mantra pose, may all beings be well and at peace, is also to create enough strength for ourselves, right? And that has nothing to do with ego. That is really all about just being full, charging, nourishing, knowing what we need so we can give to others. So just respect yourself in this practice, and then step your right foot forward. When you're ready, come into a lunge. And again, we're going to start with some more intuitive movement here. So moving side to side with your hips back and forth. You don't have to worry too much about your front knee unless obviously you have an injury. The hip is going to compensate. The movement is actually coming more from the hip no matter what you do. And then eventually you're going to lean forward and climb up onto that front thigh. Drag in your center, bring your palms to touch, spread your fingers, and pull your prayer down from center first. So I sometimes like to use my thumbs on my chest so I can really feel it pulling down, and then to the left. Turn your head to the right, so away from your hand. And then lean your ear, tilt your head to the right. So just going to explore different head positions here. Back center, keep your arms where they are. Just keep them right there on your left side, and then left ear towards left shoulder. Breathing, maybe leaning a little further into that front knee until you come back center, and then inhale, float your arms up. Exhale, hands down. If you're like me and you just like to stretch that front leg out, you can go ahead. Eventually, we're going to step it back all the way into tabletop. And then once again, your movement, maybe rolling your rib cage, maybe just wagging your tail for a moment, maybe cat-cow. Come back onto fingertips, create some height. Left foot steps forward, lunge position there. Up, almost coming up, but no, we're actually going to start with the movement for the hip and for the leg, the hamstrings, whatever you feel like you need to approach most, you can go ahead. Sometimes moving a little bit in a diagonal is actually quite interesting. Good, just see what works, what feels nice, what feels like it's new. And then climb up when you're ready. Lengthen up from there, right? As you sink into your front hip, front knee, you're going to lengthen up. Prayer in front of your chest. Pull it down. Then to the right. That already should give you a little bit of a stretch around your neck, especially if you're on the tighter side like me. And then look over to the left. Tilt your head a little bit to see what's behind the left shoulder. Back center, tilt your ear towards the left shoulder. This is a little bit of a different movement here from turning to tilting. Come back to center and then tilt to the right. When you feel complete here, back to center. Lift your arms up one more time, really waving up, soft movement, smooth movement here. Leaning back if you like, once again, a little length for your hamstring, step it back, all fours. Another breath or two in soft, easeful movement. So I like to circle my hips about a couple of times towards my heels and then go the other way around there. And then lean back, maybe just for a second, and come back into where you started. Tucking the toes under, we're going to shift hips up into our first down dog. Not too many of those today. And just bend your knees a little bit, and then feel like you have joints, which you do. Feel your knees, feel your elbows. Make sure you're not just, making everything really straight. No straight lines necessary. In fact, become aware of the softness in your body. And these structures are actually very, very much appreciated and necessary for your movement here. I sometimes like to pull my shoulders back and forth very gently so I can just feel what my shoulders are actually doing. I'm not just leaning into my arms or my wrists. And then find your way forward. Walk forward towards your hands, land in a forward fold, Uttanasana. Bend your knees. And see if you can lift your arms to the front to begin with, and from reaching the fingertips forward, you're going to slowly lift up as if you're trying to lift your chest first. Standing up, rolling your arms behind you. We're going to do a circular movement now with the right hand, and really all there is to it is circling the right hand. I am taking my whole body with me as I move through this, again, smooth sequence, and I'm just trying to explore how that feels on that side before I change direction, go the other way. Right, so taking your side body with you, notice what's necessary to lift your arm, especially thinking about the torso itself. And then switch, left arm lifts, and you're going to start circling back, forward. Sometimes it's nice to just use the arm for one round and then see how it changes if you let your arm lead the movement into the rest of the body, right? And then maybe switch direction. Do you feel limited? Do you feel more open on one side? Good, and then eventually stand back up straight. Notice how that feels. And from here, come into a soft forward fold. See if you can not touch the mat. Step the left foot back, arrive in a lunge position. Very soft, almost gorilla-like lunge. Roll yourself up, find space, find softness, maybe a little bounce. Front knee bent, foot right under that knee. Good, and once you arrived here, take an exhale. Bring your hands behind the head, and we're just going to move, I want to say, in waves. The only thing that's really important here is to keep some integrity around your center, but everything else really is up to you. So maybe starting with side to side, rolling the torso from side to side, maybe rolling the 360, leaning back, curling forward. And then eventually we're going to arrive in something like a back bend. So pushing the head back into the hands once you feel like you can stop here. Take a breath or two. Lean forward eventually. Let your upper body move towards the front knee. And then see if you can lift that back foot up or lighten the back foot, right? If this is too much, just lighten the back foot and eventually bring your fingertips down. So this could be a standing split, or this could just be your back foot on the mat and your hands coming to the floor. I'm using my cushion here. You could do the same. Any elevation is great. Turning out the hip about 3 times to the left, and using your shoulders to open to the left as well if you can. And after round number 3, step it back. Luckily, we're not staying for too long. Come all the way forward, back into your original Uttanasana, just rolling a little side to side, whatever you need, whatever feels good. Breathing out and stepping that right foot back. If you can, do not use your hands. Arrive in a lunge. Soften, maybe dangle your arms for a second. Bend both knees. Breathe. And hands behind the head. Lean into your arms again. Any movement that your body's calling for, right? So if you're thinking waves, then maybe you take one elbow back and then the other. It's a little bit of a limited movement, but that's what makes it interesting. Right, so twisting can be nice here, and then eventually landing in your back bend, looking up only as much as your neck allows you to, and then reaching forward. Let the crown of the head really elevate into your hands almost, or rather the back of the skull. Standing split or back foot touches the mat. See if you can bring your hands down onto blocks, onto the floor, onto a cushion like me here, and then 3 times rolling your hip open towards the right. Your foot is kind of a nice indicator to see how that goes. I'm choosing to take my right shoulder with me. It's, again, obviously limited here, but I'm going to try to move it a little. After round number 3, I step it back in, soften forward, bend your knees enough so that that forward fold doesn't feel like pulling on your back. That's really important here. Everything else is absolutely free. And we're going to find our way back from a plank pose. So step into your plank, into lying on our belly, taking a moment of pause. And while we are staying very much present with our minds, we are allowing for the body to take a little rest. We are allowing for the breath to find its path as it wants, as it likes. Whenever you feel ready, take your arms out in front of you. I scooted back a little bit so I have more space. And then all we're going to do is slide one hand at a time forward, and then the other hand goes back at the same time. So depending on your floor, this might be tricky. You could slide a blanket if you have a wooden floor, or you could even slide blocks if you have carpet. We're going to try and really extend or exaggerate that movement a little bit, really turning the torso to the side that it goes. And then the next time you land on your right, roll all the way onto that side. Lift your upper leg and your upper arm and see if you can sort of zigzag them away from each other. So leg kicks forward, arm kicks back, roll back onto your belly. And if you're like, what the hell, that was way too fast, that's okay. We have another side. So you can either rewind or you can just do it on the other side again. So we're going to roll onto the left side this time. Lift the top leg, kick the leg forward, lift the arm, the bottom arm. See if you can reach the arm back a little bit. Doesn't look like much here, but it is trying to reach back. And then roll back onto your front and arrive here. Take your hands on chest height, and press yourself gently up into cobra, which means try not to lift your navel. Try to stay low. Try to focus on your shoulder blades moving back, pressing down through the tops of the feet. As you exhale, lower back down. Take a breath. And we're going to roll very slowly this time, very soft into our child's pose. Now, child's pose, surprisingly, is going to be where we end our class today. So choose wisely. I am going to go for a child's pose with my knees touching, with my arms just resting heavy, framing my legs. You could, however, choose any other variation that you prefer. You could make it a restorative one with a bolster or with a cushion under your forehead. Or you could come into lying down in a proper shavasana if you prefer that. Just make sure you feel your breath now moving the back, that space between the shoulder blades, and allow yourself to sink into softness. Giving yourself that last moment of loving kindness. You just opened a very sensitive area, a very protected area of your body, creating the ability to move with compassion through the rest of your day. Lokah, samasta, bhavantu. Thank you.